Hey, it's Falcon, and this is Before You Buy, the show where we sort of take a look at new games, give you some footage, give you our impressions, and hopefully help you make a buying decision. So today we are obviously doing Jump Force, and that's a biggie. This was announced back at E3 in 2018. People were kind of taken aback. Is this big console anime crossover fighter, but it's kind of a modern spin on a long-running type of crossover game that the Jump series has given us that goes all the way back to the NES, honestly. We just don't get them in the Western market usually, which, let me tell you, this is quite a way to introduce these games to a more wide Western audience. So let's start with the roster. It's 40 strong, there's a ton of variety, and there is nothing at all to scoff at. There's 40 playable fighters. That's a ton. You got a lot of big household names. You got your Dragon Ball, your Naruto, your One Piece, your Bleach. You got some of the reserve players. Your Saint Seiya, the Fist of the North Star, Black Clover, City Hunter, and even Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, it's a big, wild roster. And there's some minor issues here because there's a really weird amount of time spent trying to justify why all of these anime characters are fighting. Let's talk about the story mode. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will give away a couple of things that happen early. This takes place in the real world, so keep that in mind. It is a little bit jarring to see anime characters in the real world, but this thing starts off with Frieza from Dragon Ball Z basically messing up Times Square. There's a civilian that's injured, Goku shows up, Trunks rescues Goku, stuff gets kinda interesting. And then you create an in-game avatar, which was the injured bystander, and it's you, the player character. You're then whisked away to Umbra Base, which everything gets explained, the narrative gets filled out, etc., etc. So at Jump Force HQ, this is what you learn. The real world that you, me, and seemingly the player character, like the actual real world where this game supposedly takes place in, isn't the only one. There are a bunch of different Jump worlds, and all of them house these various Shonen Jump characters. Like, you've got the Dragon Ball world, the Naruto world, One Piece world. We went over what characters are in this game already, so you know what worlds there are. They are all separate, and they all exist parallel to each other. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But on top of it, there are enemies from Jump Worlds that you have to deal with. They're called Venoms. They're putting humanity in danger, and all of the Shonen Jump characters, as well as you, the player character, who was injured in the ensuing scuffle in Times Square, have to save humanity. I mean, that's obviously a good goal, but it was very difficult to get to that point, and you'll know exactly what I mean when you go through it. And from there, it's basically using Umbra Base to access the rest of the game. Umbra Base, like I said, is Jump Force HQ. It serves as a hub and lobby, and you walk around, interact with NPCs. You can enter into online and offline battles. You can do your story missions. You can upgrade. Just everything that you would do in a menu is done in a hub world, and that's kind of cool. It's kind of also a really glorified menu. Like, there's times that I really enjoy it, and there's times when I'm thinking, a menu would have been fine. I don't like walking all this way, but whatever. You go from world to world. It's kind of Kingdom Hearts-ish, which is weird considering Kingdom Hearts just came out, but whatever. I think I have a lot of preference towards the idea of a fighting game that works more like Injustice. Like, in Injustice, you fight somebody, there's a cutscene. The cutscene helps you understand what's happening and introduces the next fight, and then you do the next fight. Basically what you would expect when somebody says story mode in fighting game. We didn't get that. It's kind of weird, honestly. The cutscenes are not good. The audio is not in sync. The localization is sometimes very strange, and the animation in the cutscenes is just a big meh. You're not gonna get a lot out of me for that. There's been a lot of talk about the cutscenes around the internet. You've seen probably GIFs of it. It's all there. It's weird. It's not great. So set the cutscenes aside, character models are decent, but not amazing. Sometimes they're really weird, but that's usually when they're standing still. If they're moving or in a battle or in, frankly, a lot of these different scenarios that you're actually playing, they actually look pretty good. It's not going to blow you away, but it is pretty cool. Now, all of that stuff, I would say, matters, but that's not why we came to Jump Force. Frankly, when I saw Jump Force, my thought was, oh cool, I can fight with all of these characters. And when we get down to that, it's actually pretty good. Obviously, the most important part of a fighting game is the combat, and I think it's pretty damn fun. It's fast, it's hectic, it's loud, and though it's maybe not as technical as Dragon Ball FighterZ or Street Fighter or even some of the Soul Calibur titles, it does actually actually give you a platform to do some pretty badass stuff. It starts you off pretty basic with light attacks, heavies, throws, a block, and you can build a meter to execute special attacks, for instance Goku's Kamehameha, Naruto's Rasengan, Vegeta's Gallic Gun, the awesome stuff that we all cared about when we were much smaller than we are now. Or maybe you're still that small, I don't know. It's the cool stuff from Dragon Ball and the other animes. It's kind of like arcadey combat, and that's not a bad thing. And these arenas that it takes place in are huge. They're based on various classic locations in the Shonen Jump universe, as well as places in the quote-unquote real world, Paris, New York, San Francisco, etc. And the fact that they've made these stages so large really works well because the superpowered attacks take up a lot of area. You punch somebody and they go flying really far. It makes sense to have a nice big, expansive area to play in. And the game's charge mechanic does a darn good job of allowing you to close that gap, as it may get more lengthy. There's also a second gauge for when you're taking damage, which builds up. When it gets to 50%, you can burn everything that you've gained there to use an Awaken ability. The Awaken ability essentially form changes you. It's really easy to use, it's just clicking the right thumbstick, and it's actually pretty sweet. Some of the characters have an ultimate awakening potential as well, so Goku, at 50% he'll go Super Saiyan, but at 100% he'll go Super Saiyan Blue, which is, let's just say, awesome. It's one of the more awesome things, is just being able to do all of that stuff. One thing Jump Force does that I think is fairly different from other tag games like Jump Force. In other games, each of your characters tend to have like an individual health bar, whereas in Jump Force you seem to have kind of a collective pool of health, and character shifts are more like a switch of your moveset or a switch of your stance, for lack of an actual specific term. And this is, in my opinion, actually really good when you get used to it. It's not necessarily better or worse, it's a different style. Like if you're thinking that you will approach this as in, oh, character A is low on health, I need to switch out to character B. That's not how it works. You can take a set amount of damage, so it literally is a fairly different idea. Again, I think this is kind of something that may depend on taste, but I did actually enjoy this element of the tag switching quite a bit. And I'll tell you why. I found myself switching out characters more often than I would in other games, because a lot of the switching is done specifically for health-oriented reasons, whereas doing it this way allows you to take advantage of several different movesets, in some way just totally revolutionizing the approach you take, but that's also me, that's what I thought. It is really fast combat, like I said, it's kind of arcadey. It's very fluid. It feels very powerful, especially when using abilities, supers, and all of that. There is stuff going off everywhere. You see explosions popping off, and to call this a high-energy game would be an understatement. I would say it's more fun than the trailers made it look, and that's saying a lot because this is great gameplay, like phenomenal gameplay. It's the kind of fighting that I enjoy. Like I said, arcadey but smooth, fluid, fast, powerful. You do gain XP and currency from battles. You can use that for new abilities and cosmetics. It's not going to shock you in any way. It's not something you've never seen anywhere else before, so we won't go into a lot of detail. It's not intrusive, so I don't really want to give it points for originality or take away points for it being annoying. The progression is fairly standard as games go now, but it's really, I think, the gameplay where the game shines. It's certainly not the story mode. So when the gameplay is good, that means the online multiplayer is good, right? Well, yeah, if you're good at the game. Otherwise, you're gonna get your ass kicked. You're going to be destroyed. Somebody who has played this game much more than you and already knows the intricacies is there. So spend your time getting good elsewhere before you even try that. Unless you're a masochist. I don't know. Maybe you're a masochist. Or maybe you're already really good at a game like this. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you whether you should or shouldn't play multiplayer. It's a good experience I've found, but I am definitely not as good as most of the people playing this game online. At the end of the day, the real thing that's going to be your buying decision here, I think, is what are you looking for in a game? Because if you want a really deep technical fighter or a really well-told, awesome story, don't come here for that, because it is not that. It is neither of those things. Like I said, it is a fast, powerful, arcadey, fluid fighter, And if you're looking for that, this is a damn good example. And on top of it being a damn good example, it brings you a lot of crossover characters from the Shonen Jump series, and it's fun. It's just flat out fun. There's no other way to put it. Are you looking for a way to kick Vegeta's ass? Ask Goku by spirit bombing him directly into the ground like a big dumb kid banging his action figures against each other. This is where you want to go for that, because it is that. And if that's what you want, that's what this is. And I'm not going to say that it does everything perfect, but it does everything that you need it to do pretty much perfect. But again, that's up to your taste, and we're very interested to hear what everybody has to say about that. Leave us a comment, let us know what you're thinking about Jump Force, and if you like this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click the subscribe button, and don't forget to click the notification bell. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.